It's Rachel and I were talking about, we're over a year into this thing and we're all becoming experts in this platform, right? And it's really pretty cool. We were saying how lucky we are to have this available to us, that we can do this and get together like this and share information. And our market is on fire, as we all know, and this is the time for this information. Bob or Rob, do either of you guys want to say anything at all before I get started on my thing?
Carly, I'll just jump in real quick. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Rob Philippone. I'm a branch manager here at Norcom Mortgage. We've got a great branch in the geography. Bob Jekyll is a loan officer on my team. He's with us today. I'm very lucky in that I have access to Charlie. He forgot more about renovation lending than many of us, including myself, probably will ever know. So he's a great resource. I want to give him the platform today. But Bob and I, despite our self-deprecating humor, we know a lot about this as well. We're here to help you. We ask you to reach out to us. And this is, of course, not just the totality of what we do here in the renovation space, although that's going to be what we're going to talk about on our call today. Reach out to us for anything. We're very creative. We've got some very good solutions for you. But with that being said, we'll turn today's presentation over to Charlie, who is our resident expert in Reno, and we'll kind of go from there. So thanks again, Charlie.
My pleasure. Thanks for that intro. And again, nice to be with all you guys. Some of you probably know me. I've been connected with Rachel and the New Haven Middlesex group for so long, and as has Rob and Bob from our company. Norcom has a great partnership with New Haven Middlesex, and we cherish it. We cherish the relationship we have that ties us to you guys to let you know what we're always doing. And again, we're going to talk about renovation mortgages today specifically. And that's how many times, Rachel, have I been into the old days when we used to actually all get in front of each other and talk about this. And over the years, it's grown and the interest has grown. I've taught many of my CE classes on the subject with this group, with New Haven Middlesex. So again, just wanted to give you some of that background. Before I jump into the renovation mortgage thing, I'm going to spend 2 minutes, not even, on just a background quick on Norcom Mortgage. If there's anyone on this call that's not totally familiar with us, we are a direct mortgage lender here in Connecticut. Norcom has been here for over 30 years, 32 years. Again, we're a direct mortgage lender that makes all of our own loans, our own underwriting decisions. We close and we fund our own loans. We close and fund our own renovation loans as well, which I'm going to talk about and why that's so important. And again, that being the most important piece today is that you know who we are and how we do things. And now we're gonna kind of jump into, like I said, specifically the renovation piece of things. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to turn off my camera since I'm not self-consciously floating out in space here while I'm presenting. So there we go. Look at that. My space is still there. I like it. All right. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to make sure that you can see it. Rachel, I just need you to give me a nod even if you see my screen. And I will get to the right place. All right. You probably see. You got it, Rachel?
There you go. Perfect.
Awesome. All right, cool. So there we have it. So that's me. I'm Charlie Napolitano, as you have heard. And we're going to talk about renovation loans, renovation mortgages, and all of what that even means. Most of you by now probably know what that means, I think. But we're going to, get into some of that. Rachel, what do we have here? About an hour, is that right?
Yes, we have until noon. We left a half hour at the end for any questions people might have.
Perfect. So that's, housekeeping, guys. We're definitely going to be here till noon. I won't take that long. I'll get through my presentation. We'll take as many questions as you guys have. And it could even be specific scenarios and whatever. So as we go. So we're calling this our spring refresher. We had a great presentation back in November, I think it was, where we talked about today's renovation mortgages and what you need to know about it and why it's so important today more than ever. And you know what? Just a few months later, it's even more appropriate right now. So 1 minute on my background, just so you know who I am. So my title is VP Market Manager, Renovation Loan Programs at Norcom. That just means I oversee the renovation mortgage group there. And that's another big fact, guys, that we have a group there that specializes in this. Okay. real estate agents and home buyers are what we are really all about when it comes to this business, particularly. All right, Norcom has always been known as a purchase mortgage lender to begin with. When it comes to this type of business, although refinance is very popular when it comes to renovation stuff, renovation mortgages, we really focus on our partners and our home buyers because this is where the opportunity is right now, really. So, all right, let's get started. So we'll talk a little bit about this market that we're in here, right, guys? You're out showing houses today, right? We know it's a hard market. Oh, you haven't even gotten out yet. It's sold. Sorry. Let's get to the next one. All right. So you move up in the market. Let's say maybe you're one of these fancy realtors, right? I know a couple of them. You know, like let's try that market. Ah, geez, sold. Now, you know what? Maybe we could go the other way a little bit, right? Like this is what I've always been about. You know, like let's look at the houses that maybe, you know what? It's almost pointless, right? I kid, guys, you know, like, although it's not kidding. You guys know what this market is like right now, right? It's every single thing. And when you do get a house out there, I know that the houses pretty much all look like this inside. I spend a lot of time at open houses too, right? I know these are the bathrooms and kitchens you're seeing out there for the most part, I'm sure, right? These are all the views. I'm sure all the properties. And again, some of my realtor friends, that's Bobby, that's Karen. You know, I know you guys have it easy out there, right? Okay. Did we lose everybody? Did everybody hang up? I hope not. Guys, we want to talk about the reality of all this, right? We want to talk about what's the catchphrase? This is where we lose everybody, Rachel. This is where they all disconnect. They see that word, right? You guys have been dealing with it. We've been dealing with it. You know, listen, it's almost a good problem to have, kind of a weird way to say it, because the market's hot, right? The lack of inventory has been quite a challenge. But you know something? This has been an exciting point for the renovation mortgage business because it's gotten me to have a lot more realtors really perk up and listen to how when I say things like, we can help expand your inventory. We can help create inventory with these type of mortgage products. A lot of you guys know about them. Some of you don't. You're going to learn enough in the next 45 minutes, guys, that you're going to see this as the opportunity that it is. You already have the connections here between Bob Jackal and Rob Philippone, who is his manager, you know, who has the branch there in Milford. Guys, you have the means to the opportunity. So let's talk about it. What is a renovation loan? Let's start there, right? You've probably heard that term. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you've heard renovation mortgage. Maybe you've heard rehab loan, which flew away so quickly. Sorry about that. Maybe you've heard this term, Homestyle. I don't know. Maybe. All right. By now, you've definitely heard of this, right? There's no question you've heard of that. And in the old days, Rachel's heard me say it enough times. It's not even funny, but I used to say, and we're not talking about your retirement plan, folks. If you're in that class, you're in the wrong class. This is about renovation mortgages. The 203K is FHA's renovation mortgage, the flagship for all these years. All right, so you've heard of it, right? Here's what I want you to get right from the start. We're talking about normal mortgages here, guys. We're talking about a normal mortgage, whether it's an FHA mortgage or it's a conventional mortgage like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. We're talking about a normal process. We're not talking about some smoke and mirrors or, you know, black magic here. A normal process when you're working with a normal lender who does this. Today, everybody says they do it, by the way, just so you know. Everybody says they do it, and many of them do, but there's few true experts devoted to it. And this is not an actual continuing ed class. I have no problem telling you who the best in the business is, and it's Norcom Mortgage. Guys, all that, you know, kidding aside, we're talking about normal interest rates. And by normal interest rates, I'm talking about right now rates in the 3s for renovation mortgages, just like the other mortgages, the other non-renovation mortgages, right? So we're talking about normal stuff. Sometimes it's a 1/4 point or 3/8 higher than a regular interest rate, but these are details. But again, talking about interest rates in the 3s most part. We're talking about every kind of buyer. It's not a first-time home buyer program. It's not some, you know, like I said, something specific to a type of buyer or a type of property. It's not. It's all properties, no matter the condition. This is where it becomes, guys, this is where it becomes interesting and about opportunity. Because we're talking about all properties and all buyers. We're not talking about rehabs or foreclosures. You could do those too. We do plenty of those. That's how this got started. But we're talking about any house in any location that maybe just doesn't have something that they wish it had. There could be repairs, and they could be looking for houses that need repairs. Let me get into a market where not everybody is lining up to look at the same house. Maybe I'm looking at houses that need something. Maybe I'm looking at houses that don't need anything except they're missing something that I wish it had. I'll talk more about that. I'll show you some pictures about that. It's much more fun. Let's talk about the market a little bit more, right? Must I? Maybe I don't even need to talk about the market a little more. Let me show you something. This is 2021 information, February. The good news is nationally, there's over 1 million houses for sale right now. The bad news is that's down 30% from 1 year ago. I mean, look, that's the real numbers. So, okay, now you have something to actually use when these customers, when these buyers start to complain and they say, maybe I'll just rent forever. I'm getting out of here. You know, like, you got to explain this is temporary, right? This is what I'm doing. It's going to change. You know, the market is already changing. We're seeing an almost 9% increase in the last, I got to look at the email. My boss in his infinite, he constantly has great data. In fact, about housing is jumping up 9% in a matter of 2 weeks because of the decline in rates again. So get ready. And the inventory is coming on the market. I will tell you this one too, though, guys. The median home price in the last 12 months has gone up 16%. I mean, that's huge. And we're talking about, we know what we're talking about. Who among us today has not seen the property go for 10% more than the listing price in a battle, you know, in a bidding war for a house that a year ago nobody would have really lined up for on a Saturday? You know, it's very interesting. But hey, interesting times, needless to say. Let me show you some actual examples. I think these are interesting, and these aren't like, this is about a year old, if I'm being honest. This is a house actually in Southington. Southington's a huge town with all different price points. This is probably somewhere in the middle, maybe. Guys, this house was built in 1950, right? Look at it, clean, right? It was on the market for about 2 months. I'm gonna show you that house again in a little while. Here's a house in Newington. This house was built in 1968, right? Again, this is about a year old, right? But I left these in here on purpose because these houses sold too. I'm going to show you them again. This is a $200,000 house. This is new. This was listed on April 1st. All right, I thought this one was interesting. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, you know, almost 1,200 square feet, built in 1950. And look, you know, it looks pretty clean when you start to look at it. And you get a little bit more, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, I've seen that bathroom before. Looks like they did a decent job taking care of it. But, you know, again, that's the kitchen, guys. Now, when I talk about expanding inventory, I mean, look, full transparency, right? Right now, this house is probably in a bidding war, you know, like, but it's not in the same bidding war as the one that's updated and ready to go. And I know this house wasn't last updated in 1950, right? But guys, check it out. Look at this listing. Welcome home, right? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but what I am going to say is, look, this home's a ranch, but it has the potential of becoming a cave. This is how it's listed on April 1st, right? There's 1,000 square feet of unfinished space. Top floor can be converted, right? Can be converted into 2-bedroom. You could add a bath. You could add a master suite. I connected with this realtor after I saw this because I said, I need to be friends with you. You know, the basement can be finished off, add more. This sounds like I would put this listing out there. All right. 3rd bedroom, blah, blah, blah. Now look what it says. Currently, there are multiple. Oh, this is that upper room, by the way, that extra room. Rachel, talk about a music studio. My gosh. Oh, gorgeous. Listen to this, guys. There are currently multiple offers in on the property. Highest and best offers are due by 6 p.m. on Monday, June 5th. Look, when contingent on June 6th, it's since been sold. I think that was a great example of the perfect listing of a renovation type of house. It's not a renovation type house, you know, typically not a rehab. This is also a little bit older, right? This is a house in West Hartford. It's about a year ago, a year and a half. It was on the market for 6 months at this point, guys. Why? I mean, it's simply because of the outdatedness of the property. This is not a surprise to you guys. You guys are real estate agents. You've seen these, I know. But here's a $300,000 house in Simsbury that sat on the market for 6 months. More. I mean, obviously, that was the kitchen there. You know, today, look, I bet there's not a lot of you right now on this call that are sitting on tired old listings. You're probably not. God bless. If you are, you should talk with us. If you're not today, we know that that'll come back. Those days will come back. You know, listen. This is about, obviously, and this has always been about this. Forget about today's market. This product line, this type of stuff has always been about, hey, we've got our buyers shopping the way they always had. Town, school district, even neighborhood. We know as we narrow the search, we know there's less and less available. Today, even less and less. So what's the point? The point is, you know, let's start to educate ourselves and our buyers and our listers that there's a way to look at these properties that doesn't have to be the old thinking of it. You know, like, oh, rehab loan. No. Instead, it's like, let's position properties and let's position buyers so that they know how easy it is to do this. You can close in a regular time period. The work happens after closing, and they get exactly what they want rolled into their purchase, into their mortgage, and barely changes the expense. I'll show you that. So, you know, this is, like I said, kind of the historical thinking about this. Half of the country's housing stock was built in the 70s. And this is what it's been. And the 70s is a long time ago, as you can see. We like it, but this is the kitchen, right? We like it, but I don't know, something tells me this house might need a roof, you know? This one built in the 90s. It doesn't seem like it's that old, right? The 90s. 1995 is a long time ago at this point. Doesn't seem like it, but it is. So, you know, listen, you're probably seeing these. You've probably been in some of these kitchens. These are kind of extreme cases, of course. You know, here's some beautiful bathrooms for you. If ever to inspire a bathroom update, these would be it. Especially those appliances right there. So are renovation loans the answer to the housing shortage? You know, is this what a tough buyer's market needs? Can we expand home buying options? These are articles from a couple of years ago. I never had any need to remove them. You can see this one of these is from 2018. Guys, it's never been more appropriate than it is right now. The lament of the first-time home buyer in almost every market. Not enough entry-level homes available that are move-in ready. So we can broaden the search, right? So, all right. I say, you know, I mentioned first-time home buyers, guys. It's a third of our market right now. Third of the market. And again, these products are not designated to first-time home buyers, but let me tell you, they are made for first-time home buyers, right? The people that are scratching, saving every dollar, and sometimes it's gift money, and sometimes it's even seller credit money to get into the house. You know, having the ability to include whatever repair or upgrade or updating into a home can go a long way. So, you know, HGTV shows like Fixer Upper, all this stuff. Why are these things getting so popular? It's not even about this right now anymore. Now I'm going to say it's about social media. Like it's taking off. And when I say now it's about, I'm talking about the popularity of these products, of the way to buy a house today. People like Chip and Joanna. I forgot. How can I forget their names? You know, like you guys see it. I'm sure. You know, every house seen it's every single thing you see has something to do with renovation. It seems. God bless. I love that. Here's that house in Southington I was talking about. Remember, this is that house that somebody bought it just like this, but they very quickly turned it into this. Look at that life-changing remodel. I want to back up just one second here. Hang on a second. Oops. I want to show you guys that before really quick. Look at that basement before. And, you know, that's not a cheap one. That's probably 30 grand there. Okay. But life-changing. Talk about, you know, changing living space. Kitchen. They didn't have much space to play with in that kitchen, guys, but they made it what they wanted it to be. And it's perfect. The house is perfect for them. We like it, but we can't possibly live in a kitchen like that. So buy it with a brand new kitchen. How do you do that? You know, buy it with a new kitchen. It's simple. They're going to buy the house, and during the mortgage process, they're going to identify a contractor who's going to lay out the plans for that kitchen with a bid, and it's going to turn into mortgage money that's part of their purchase. And their appraised value of this new house is going to be based on the finished product, like the work's already done. I'll show you an example of that. I'll show you in a second. Here, let's define this really quick. financing for the purchase as well as the repair or the upgrade built in. Buyers are doing one loan application, one approval, one loan closing, one payment. I used to talk about this stuff, guys. People used to be like, oh, wow, I'm thinking a lot of you guys know a lot of this stuff. You know, I don't like to assume, though. I teach classes, I do presentations. I talk about this point that these people can do optional things when they purchase a home. Most of my realtor partners don't know that. And they pull me aside and they go, I thought it was just repairs. You know, these are typical mortgages with the addition of a contractor and his bid. Okay. It's small little updates and upgrades to big stuff, to all big kind of expansions and addition. Somebody buys a house that doesn't have a garage and they're like, I can't buy a house without a detached garage. You know, where I keep my bikes and whatever. They can buy a house and add that, and it won't hurt you or affect you or your transaction as the agent. The renovation money that they're going to borrow in this loan is going to be all based on the finished product, the after completed value of this property. And that helps on a purchase to begin with, guys. Many times there's instant equity that's established when someone does an improvement to a home that they're buying. So we're going to increase the number of houses that are out there for them by increasing options. We'll turn the house that they're going to buy into the home that they're going to move into. And by the way, homeowners can even refinance their home. And if they're improving it, they could do it with almost no equity, with very little equity. If they're refinancing and they're going to do improvements, maybe they're refinancing to drop their horrible 4.25% interest rate, you know, and now they can do that and still improve their home, even without the equity, like in the old days where you had to have cash out equity, you know. So maybe even you yourself. I'm sorry, someone have a question? Cool. We'll get to that a little bit later. There may be some of you on this call who even have a situation in your own life that this might work for. So we'll be happy to help you there. So here's that house that needs that roof I was talking about, you know, buy it with a new roof. A home buyer buys that house, you know, and they get a contractor and they include a roof in this purchase. And the day after they close on the home, they replace that roof for them. You know, that $8,000 or $10,000 there, that's not even going to be $50 in their mortgage payment. Maybe it's something just the house didn't have. So home buyers, you know, this is again the old thing. You know, like we always have said this way: shop by location, of course, right? Required, optional, it doesn't matter. Avoid savings, reduction of savings, avoid additional debt. Mortgages based on the after improved value. $10,000 increments, guys. This is what I tell buyers. This is what I tell realtors every day. $10,000 increments added to a mortgage. You're talking right now, probably less than $45 a month in their mortgage payment. And if we're talking about an FHA loan, for example, 3.5% down payment, adding $10,000 into a transaction is only going to affect their pocket by $350, which is pretty powerful. So they include bathroom, right, in their loan. As realtors, of course, you can show the older stuff. That's what we're talking about. Show older homes that need something. Show newer homes that need something. Show a house that's got a problem. Doesn't matter. It could be something simple like a fence. You know, think about your buyers. Overcome, yeah, I like it, but, you know, the seller makes no repairs. They sell the house as is, as a listing agent. What could be more powerful? It'll help you create inventory. It'll help with the older listings. You'll close more transactions and grow your business. So we talk about, you know, 90% of the people that are buying houses are starting at 98% are starting online. It's probably more than that now. And why do we care so much? I mean, this group of people, the largest home buyers, the largest group, 38% of the home buyers are millennials right now. And, you know, what that's about, guys, is that people do their research. We all know it. We all do our research. More and more, our buyers are finding out about these products. I had someone schooling me this morning via email about a guideline that I was explaining to them that they did research on, and, you know, they didn't necessarily agree. And it was a home buyer. So, you know, it's important that we stay up on it, needless to say, for many reasons, right? So here's a little lesson on how these things actually work. Again, it's our job. We are the experts. We help. But I want you guys to be confident and know a little bit about the nuts and bolts of these things and how they work. So it's as simple as this. A home buyer, they're going to purchase a home, right? The house plus the renovations minus their down payment equals their renovation mortgage. Everything from the most minor cosmetic stuff to a total tear down of a house, believe it or not. But honestly, as real estate agents, mostly what you guys would be seeing out there, what you probably have been seeing is more of the minor cosmetic stuff and upgrades. All work is always after the closing, and it's always done by a contractor that our buyer is going to pick. Seller makes no repairs, and there are all options available for these type of mortgages. And this is really all you need to know, honestly, guys. There's the government side of the house on the left, and then there's the conventional side on the right. So when I say there's a renovation mortgage for every buyer, this is what we mean. It doesn't matter if they're an FHA buyer or a conventional, or they put down 5% or 20% or whatever it is. And they can do it on almost any property. So for example, here's an FHA loan example. You have an FHA buyer. And look, just to digress a moment, as a lender, as a mortgage lender, could be a million reasons why your buyer is an FHA buyer, right? Maybe it's the credit score. Maybe it's the income ratio, where we can be stretching a little further when we're dealing with an FHA product versus conventional. There could be all different reasons, but in this case, we're going to be purchasing the home with an FHA loan. They're going to buy it for $180,000. They're going to put $20,000 worth of renovation into the house. Their acquisition ultimately now is $200,000. They're putting down 3.5%, $7,000, leaves them with a base loan amount of $193,000. It's a 30-year fixed loan. And if I was locking this loan today and they had a decent credit score, let's call it 3.5% maybe. Okay. So another one I wanted to show you real quick is the Homestyle renovation mortgage, which is a conventional renovation. You see it's by Fannie Mae. So right here, let's dispel the myth right up front. It's not just FHA alone. It's a conventional loan as well. And when we go that route, we take advantage of the conventional lending limits. That's an incorrect number. Rob, you probably, right? It's 518, I think, right now.
548,250.
See that? I got it wrong twice. So it's a moving target. It's at 548 right now, guys. And sometimes that could be the difference in Connecticut. We all know it. We might be limited in the 350s, 380 range, whatever, in an FHA loan. So we can go up to 97% when it's conventional as well because of the products we can tie to it, like Home Ready. We can do loans without PMI if they're putting down 20%. You can still do a renovation loan like a regular loan with 20% down and not have PMI, or get rid of it down the road when it's conventional. If they don't have the equity today, once they do down the road, if they're in a conventional loan, just an appraisal alone can let them get rid of their PMI. And there's investor renovation loans available when we're talking conventional. There's a single family investor loan based on Fannie Mae's rules, which would be 80%, 85% LTV, actually, if the credit score is good enough. Single family only. So there's one of those unusual factoids. Certainly not with an FHA loan, but if it's conventional renovation, we can do a single family investor, as well as second homes. There's no identity of interest restrictions like with an FHA loan, and you can even avoid some of the FHA property restrictions in case someone is looking to do renovations without a type of required repair. And then even luxury items are allowed when you go conventional, like putting in a swimming pool or a gazebo or something like that. So just a quick example of what a conventional renovation loan would look like. This is a Fannie Mae Homestyle, and this particular one, this one we're doing like it's an old school purchase. Now they could go as high as 97%, like we said, 3% down payment, 5% down payment. But the borrower that's putting down 20%, they're putting it down on the same full acquisition. So they're financing 80% of their purchase and 80% of their renovation, right? Same 30-year fixed loan. These guys are doing 20% down and they have no PMI. So I just wanted to give you that kind of broad spectrum, a kind of sort of. All right. No matter what type of renovation mortgage someone is considering, no matter which product, I wanted to give you guys a kind of a feel of what we're talking about, what's eligible. People ask that all the time. What can they do? The answer, guys, is pretty much anything and everything. They could really do anything. When it comes to repairs, the things we see up here in the Northeast, the septics and the wells, and you name it, guys. You name it. Repairs. This is this left side of this list here is really what you would consider the repairs and the things that we would see come up when there could be an issue. The right side, the additions and the kitchens and bathroom remodeling, even decks and patios and fences and driveways, finishing a basement, even appliances, guys. So, it's not an all-inclusive list, but it's an example of what you can do with these. So it doesn't have to be broken. That's the takeaway right there. It could be completely changing a house, not your everyday scenario, but you know what? The one on the right, this little house in, I want to say Meriden, where that was, became that little house in Meriden, So we can talk about, all different ways to look at expanding. So back to the nuts and bolts of it, guys. So let's talk a little bit about the appraisal. This is a big, important piece, on a purchase, on a mortgage, the appraisal, everybody knows. So it's one appraisal, on a purchase renovation mortgage, it's one appraisal. It is based on the after improved value. And like I said, the thing that makes these loans different than any normal regular mortgage is that there's a contractor involved. So when we send the appraiser out, he's going to go out to the property with the contractor's estimate for the work that they're going to be doing at the house. So when your buyer receives their appraisal prior to closing, they're already seeing the increased equity in their home by including the work. Here's a little factoid for you guys. The utilities can actually even be off at the time of the appraisal inspection. This is one of those kind of little known facts. When there are repairs required on a house and the utilities cannot be turned on, for example, say there's a plumbing issue, the appraiser can actually go out and perform the appraisal because he'll have a bid from the plumber that's going to take care of the plumbing issue. So that's why we say when a house can be sold as is in its current condition, sometimes that's how that happens. We know they can be required or optional things. And if an appraisal comes back and there are issues on it, we can even add whatever needs to be added to a contractor bid that's going to keep the transaction moving forward. Here's a concept I just want to mention to you guys when we talk about the appraisal that comes up a lot when we talk about these, and it can be a real benefit when we're talking about, when these homes today are going for more than they're being asked, more than they're being listed for. This 203K value cushion that comes up can actually be a lifesaver. I want to show you guys an example how, believe it or not. And here's why. When we're doing a 203K specifically, the FHA 203K, okay, not only is the home value based on that finished product, that after completed value, it's 110% of it. And here's the math there, guys. So you had a buyer that was purchasing a home for $200,000 and they were adding $20,000 in renovation. So their acquisition is $220,000, right? They're looking to do an FHA loan based on a 3.5% down payment with a loan of $212,300. All right, this is mortgage stuff, so I know it's hard to watch sometimes, but again, simple, 3.5% on the total acquisition. Now, what we're getting at is what would we assume? Logic would dictate to us what the appraisal need would need to be, and logic would dictate that it would need to be the $220,000 amount, right? Not every single renovation is going to necessarily bring back every dollar for dollar in value, or better yet, not every purchase today is going to be based on that listing price. It could go for more. Having that extra value cushion could really be helpful. So what I mean is, let's say that this home only appraised for $200,000 after completed value, right? So just to reiterate, they're buying it for $200,000, even though they're putting $20,000 in renovation into it. The appraiser says that finished product value is $200,000. Okay. Now listen, in today's market, maybe that house really was listed for 180, but they ended up paying 200 for it, right? Maybe that's the scenario. You know what? If they did any kind of renovation whatsoever added to it, now that $200,000 appraisal, according to the lender, is really a 220 value. And there's no issue, and this loan goes forward and closes. All right. Now, this is rare and it's an extreme circumstance, but every single 203K renovation loan has that value cushion built in. So if you remember nothing else from that, remember that term and ask us how you can help use that. Ask us how you can utilize that guideline. We're going to help you. I'm going to run through quickly on your buyers qualifying, on how a buyer would qualify. How about this? It's just like any other mortgage. Okay, like I've been saying from the beginning. It covers all the same down payment. I mentioned you could do a single family investor, only on conventional, right? Here's what you want to know if they ask the question. Yeah, they have to have a 620 credit score, right? There's really no lender that'll do a 203K without a 620. And you can't do a conventional loan without a 620. So there you have it. They allow for all of the great benefits of some of these mortgages today, like non-occupant co-borrowers that can help save a deal. If a buyer can't quite qualify, their family member can be a co-borrower and not even live in the property, right? Gift funds, seller credits, rental income, all that good stuff, guys. All right. Just to touch on the process, because this is a lot of, guys, this is a lot of the things that I get questions from realtors. They don't understand how it works. They've got a basic understanding now. They got a basic understanding of why they need to know about it. Hopefully you feel that way, right? Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the process. Okay, it's simple. The pre-approval is based on the total acquisition. So what do I mean? I mean your loan originator is pre-approving the home buyer based on what they want to spend, based on what they want their payment to be, guys. It doesn't matter if it includes renovations or not. It's based on the total number. So that's how we're pre-approving them. Once we have that number, we know they can make offers, whether it's based on their full pre-approved price or less, plus the ability to add renovations. So people ask sometimes, well, don't they have to include the renovation money if they're going to qualify? Of course they do. But we're thinking that way out of the gates. Okay. But their offer, guys, their offer and their purchase contract is based on the purchase price, not about the renovation. The seller only should be concerned with what they're selling the house for. And that's what the contract is going to be. Now, at offer acceptance, this is where this mortgage becomes different because we need a contractor, right? And before we can apply, get the application underwritten, we've got to have that contractor acceptance. We're going to determine if a consultant is required on a larger renovation loan. You don't have to know all this right now, guys. It's a refresher, right? We can dig deeper on some of these more intricate things like consultants and whatnot. Make a side note, guys, there's always a Norcom CE class or a New Haven Middlesex CE class about renovation. So you can always check in on that and we can take you down into the rabbit hole, as we say. Back to that appraisal. All right, so we've got an offer accepted. We've got this loan moving and we want to get our appraisal done and we want the bid from the contractor. And this is how we get our after completed value. We close on the purchase contract date. Okay. Full disclosure, guys. I don't pretend I don't know the real world. What can delay these loans? What can make these longer than a regular transaction? The contractor can. If we are not getting what we need from a contractor, it could delay us getting what we need for our mortgage. Okay. So we're very heavily involved in that piece of it. And again, working with a lender like Norcom that does this as a specialty, we have control. We have control over a lot of these things. So we close on time. Okay. The work begins after the closing. So as a real estate agent, you don't have to be concerned other than it needs to be done correctly and be done right with the right people. All right. And with renovation process, again, with Norcom, the renovation process post-closing is done through Norcom, by Norcom. All right. And we are the ones dealing directly with our home buyer and our contractor after the closing. That's huge. About the contractor, listen, you guys get asked all the time. I know this. you get asked, do you know a contractor? Can you refer me a contract? Some of you guys love to do that. Some of you guys hate to do that, right? The lender doesn't want to be the one to refer the contractor because we don't want a conflict of interest. It's not up to, we don't want to tell you the buyer who to use, but they ask you guys, right? They can use whoever they want. And if they use someone you sent to them, all the better. You know, they need to be licensed and insured. They must have some references. They must complete the lender's contractor packet, ours. But like I said, you know, they're chosen by the borrower. They're going to get a bid from the contractor. Everything is going to be a contract between them. And as the lender, we're going to just make sure that that contractor is legitimate and satisfactory. And a side note, when it's a 203K, guys, you probably know about the identity of interest stuff. They can't be related to the borrower. They can be related to the realtor. I mean, we don't care. They can't be related to the borrower, the contractor. All right. And if it's a large 203K, it requires a GC. These are just side notes. All right, we're going to kind of get toward the end here, guys. We're going to talk just a tiny bit about leveraging these things. That first thing on the left there is a Norcom Dream House mortgage listing flyer. Sometimes they look different, but guys, basically this is about focusing and showcasing a home that needs something. And you can see in that grid that we're showing a home buyer just how simple they can actually include $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 in renovation. How simply they can do that, right? So these are things that we can do to help you position homes, right? Sample contractor bid. You know, we can show what a before and after could look like on a property, and then show what it could cost, that kind of thing. So we can help, right? You know, things you don't maybe even think about when someone says, it's great if it just had a driveway, you know, or a fence, you know. We know obviously what the difference can be when we're talking about kitchens. We know how life-changing a small outdoor renovation could be, guys. That's like maybe $6 or $7 grand right there. This is a house that really didn't need anything, but you know what? This was the way to get this done. We're not always going to be talking about a market where you can't show a house. We're not always going to be, we're going to get back to talking about, you know, boy, I like that house. It'd be great if it had this or that. Regular home buyers, guys. I love that term. Regular home buyers that don't have an extra 25 grand laying around, that they wish they could do these things. You know, you can help them, you know, facilitate what they're looking for. As a realtor, you back to this same sheet, show the older houses, doesn't matter what it needs. Overcome, I like it, but you know it needs a roof. I know it needs a roof, right? Seller makes no repairs. Create inventory. Target the exhausted. Close more stuff. Ask every home shopper, guys. This is what I tell my realtor partners every time. Well, would you consider making an offer right now on this house right here if you could just roll that in? Because you know what? If you don't make an offer right now, today, in fact, this minute, you may not have a chance because the guy behind us is going to make an offer, obviously. So turn it into the house that they're going to move into. Guys, that's the gist of it. That's the, you know, that's the nuts and bolts of it. I'm sure there's some questions, I hope. I have Bob Jackal's information there specifically. You know, Bob, again, is one of our loan originators. He works for Rob Philippone. And, you know, he knows a lot about this business. But again, he has the same access where we all work together on these. And we're here to help. So can I answer some questions for you guys?
I have a question, if I may.
Oh, please do. Hello, Isabella. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thanks. Thank you for the very informative presentation.
You're welcome.
When you start with one contractor and then it turns out that things are not working out, do homeowners have the option of going with another contractor while in process of renovating the house?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Isabella. It doesn't happen often, you know, luckily, because they are choosing the contractor. But you know, it's not a perfect world. It happens. It definitely does. Yeah, they have the option of replacing that contractor. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but one of the key reasons why working with the right lender on this that is facilitating the renovation behind the scenes after the closing is that we have experience taking care of those issues when they do come up. And we have the connections to so many of the contractors that we've relied on in the past. And we can help greatly when those things do unfortunately happen occasionally. Who else?
Hi, Charlie. I had a couple questions. My first question was for someone who would be a first-time home buyer who is looking to purchase an investment property, but is also in the service. So they will not technically live on the property. How would work as far as is that only conventional as far as an option for a rehab loan?
You got it, Michelle. That's exactly right. It would only be the conventional version
Okay,
with,
so
with the
FHA.
investor down. Yep.
Okay. And also a lot of great information. I try to stay, I had to take a call and, you know, I did miss some stuff and I'm sure I'm not going to retain all of this. So I was wondering if it's possible to receive these slides via email, perhaps?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I usually try to remember to say it as we're going. But yeah, we'll have that available for you guys as a PDF. So it's not so big and we'll shoot it out to you. And keep this in mind too, Michelle. We love to do these privately or with your office, with small groups. And sometimes it's just one or two agents. I mean, this is what we do. So if you wanted to set something up with us, you could reach out to Bob Jekyll, his info on that screen right there. And we would love to get together with you again if you'd like, if you need to.
Anybody who doesn't have their full name displayed but would like the slides sent to them, you can always chat me over your email address so that I can go ahead and send those to you.
Thank you. Thanks a bunch, Charlie, for answering those questions. I will certainly be in touch.
Excellent. You're very welcome. Thanks for spending the time with us. Who else? Anyone else? I hope.
Hey, Charlie, this is Jim Quinn, Berkshire Hathaway. How you doing?
I'm good, Jim. How about you?
Good. Also, Stonebridge Craftsman. So we've actually done a few of these.
Yes, yes.
And would love to have an opportunity to talk to you about some of the experiences that we've had and how might we be able to kind of improve on some of those experiences. I
would love it. I would love it. And my contact info is charlie.napolitano, which is, I may have to spell that for you.
I got it.
I actually dropped it in the chat, your phone number and your email.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. Perfect. Yeah. So definitely, Jim, reach out to me and let's connect on that. That would be great. Great for us.
Right, appreciate it. Thanks, Charlie.
You bet. Who else?
Hey, Charlie. Thank you for doing all this. I really appreciate it. So
My pleasure.
I had a question though about the Homestyle renovation loan. I understand that the power doesn't need or utilities don't need to be on for the appraisal. Does that mean that it would be able to be used for a cash only property?
No, good question there too. No, actually it's just in that as the lender, let's take Fannie Mae specifically, conventionally as the, as long as the repair to the utility is part of the contractor bid. So again, I used plumbing as an example. That house, that was never winterized and pipes broke and there's an inch of water in the basement. And I say to someone, don't worry about it. The appraiser's coming. He's going to appraise it with the water in the basement. And the realtor says, are you crazy? And it's like, no, because he's got the bid for the repairs that are going to say that, hey, this is going to put this property back to functionality. And therefore the appraiser says, okay, it's subject to this bid here. So goes forward with a normal mortgage, Jason, just like any other, because it's those repairs are part of the transaction.
Gotcha.
Now, one little key fact there, though, and this ties to it. On every renovation mortgage, there is what's called a contingency reserve built in. Okay, and let's say it's a $10,000 renovation or repair. There'll be a 10% or $1,000 put on top of that for something unseen or unexpected that could come along. When the utilities aren't on, we actually required to increase the amount of that contingency reserve because greater possibility of something unexpected happening. So, to tie to that, we work in that safety net, so to speak, for those type of issues. So, but again, as an agent, anything like that coming up, the best thing to possibly do is, have the good detailed conversation with the originator up front, cover all those bases.
All right, good to know. I also have investors interested in the 203K for the renovation, but now you're saying that the Homestyle is a conventional. It's a little different. In the restrictions for the 203Ks, it can't be a blood relative contractor, but a lot of these families are trying to do this. So is the conventional one not have that requirement?
That's correct. Yeah. And first things first, just to clarify in case of any confusion, anything FHA, 203K, anything FHA is owner occupied only, primary residence only, no investor whatsoever. So they would be required to use a conventional home style regardless for investor. You did say investor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, but yeah, so they could go investor. Again, it follows Fannie Mae's investor guides. It's 20% down unless they have a 660 credit score, then they could do 15% down. But to answer your real question, yes, you're right. There's no identity of interest issue on the conventional stuff. So honestly, sometimes for the exact reason, Jason, I have people buying houses that say, well, this is perfect for me. I love this, but my father's the contractor, or my son is the contractor, or my daughter is the, and they say, I'm not going to do this with a stranger. Why would I do that? I direct them to Homestyle, because Homestyle does not care if they are related. They have no issue with it whatsoever.
Perfect. You nailed it. You nailed it. Thank you. Appreciate
You got it. Absolutely. Anyone else? These are good questions. These are deep dive, good questions, to real world scenarios. I like it. Anyone else? All right. Well, sounds like no. And thank you guys, really, all of you, for being here. We have a nice group today on, you know what? I'm looking out the window on a beautiful 60+ degree day in the middle of the day. And you guys join us to share this information with us. We appreciate it. We do appreciate you guys being with us. Rob, would you like to say any final words in wrap up? Before Rachel, of course. Sorry, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. I want to make sure I say that, so I will say that one first. Comprehensive presentation by Charlie. Really nothing to add other than, I wrote down one thing, Charlie, and I listened to his presentations a lot, and I always learn something new. But when you said in the very beginning, position buyers, to me, that's what this whole product is about. Setting that expectation from day one. You're going to get out in the marketplace, have these home buyers know, get out there. Don't look at that inventory with, a hard eye. Go out there with a soft eye. Every product, you're either going to need to do something or you're going to want to do something. Especially those first-time home buyers, build it on $50,000. I did some quick math, $217 a month for 50 grand. You could do a kitchen and a whole lot more for $50,000 in many cases. So
there you go, Charlie.
You got it. We've got great resources here. I know all about this product as well, so I'm a great resource, but do reach out to Bob Jekyll. So I know Bob didn't get a chance to say much here today, but Bob is a great resource for everybody here on the phone. So start with Bob, and I'm here to back him up, and Charlie's here to back me up.
You bet.
And I'd like to hear a few words from Mr. Jekyll, if you'd like, Bob.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I apologize for not being able to join right at the beginning. My internet's been cranky this morning, of course, but I actually didn't need to add much to the presentation, because one of the main reasons I came to a company like Norcom, I've been in mortgages for over 20 years, and I met Rob Philippone a few years ago, and I'm familiar with his experience in this space of construction and renovation and his knowledge of it. And he didn't hesitate to come over here. And it's one of the first things he brought up. And it's one of the reasons why I came over here, is because of their commitment to a program that a lot of lenders just don't want to deal with the headaches and hassles after they've given the money to buy the house. It's just the way it is. It's legwork, it takes effort, it's logistics, it's people working together. And unfortunately, too many lenders got out of the space because they couldn't be bothered. So the fact that Norcom is so committed to this space, not only on the back end with the loans we do, but because of resources like Charlie, and I personally, as my branch manager, have Rob, to be able to meet with realtors and see how in a market like this that a lot of us didn't see coming, and however we got here, We have to try to make the best of it. And this program, like Charlie showed you, articles from years ago. I bet he could go back and get articles from 2012,
Yeah.
1996, 1984, back when they just started building houses. This program is a very relevant program, and Norcom Mortgage does it very well. And we'd be happy to talk to you guys about how it can be incorporated into your business plans. And I'd be happy to meet with anybody who wants to talk about it. But I am very grateful that I have resources like Rob Philippone as my manager and his experience, but also especially Charlie. And I think we all can see why he's a tremendous resource with the presentation he gave today. So thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you always, Rachel, for your continued support of my efforts and our lenders' effort to bring information to the realtors that they can put into effect to have an even better 2021. So look forward to talking to people.
Well said, Bob.
Yes, thank you so much. It's always great to be able to provide this kind of information to our members who can share it with their clients and work easier and smarter and have a lot more options available to them in the transaction process. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon. Everybody stay safe and have a wonderful Wednesday.
You too, Rachel.
Thanks,
Bye-bye
Rachel.
now.